This is going to be an exciting time for people who see this coming. I think 2023 is going to go down as the worst year in the stock market of our lifetimes. So get ready. Now, the markets, the stock markets, NASDAQ now is 31% off its top, and my target is down 92%, at the bottom a couple years from now, okay? S&P 500's down a good bit less, 18% with a target of 86%. So the NASDAQ's about a third of the way there, and the S&P will have to start catching up. So again, it's happening. This has been, the governments have held this off, but the signs are that this crash is underway. But we need to see this next wave. We need to break the new lows one more time and have follow through. And I think that's coming sooner than later. And boy, I'd be selling into any market rallies here, anything you have less. And if you're looking to short, 12,300-ish is the ideal target on the NASDAQ. But remember, we might get there. So you have to take that into account when you're doing this. So again, the markets are kind of in the same place they've been. We finally had that first crash, which finally qualified as a first crash. So very high chance we put in the top back late last year in different times between November and early January for the markets. And we've seen that first wave down. I would have loved to see it be 40%, but it's 34% on the NASDAQ. And we're in what we call kind of the second wave bounce sideways. And some of the stock indices, including even China, bottomed more like in the June of the first crash, some of them a little later in October, early November. But we've been moving sideways since then. So the question is, do we get the next wave down? The next wave down is curtains for this market. Of course, that is exactly what I expect. That this is a major top, a major crash, and not just a deeper than normal correction. But the markets have to prove that here. And the markets, they're going to hold back as long as they can before they show their hand, as I've been saying recently. So on this bounce on the NASDAQ, which I use as the key market, we hit almost 10,000. We bounced to 11,500. That's the first area of resistance. That could have been it. I'd say on the high side, 12,300. So that's what we're dealing with here. But as soon as especially if we hit that higher number, it's going to really be time to get out of any last long positions, or for people who want to short the market, that's going to be an ideal short, because the next wave should be the same size as the first one and often higher. And the first downturn, now that we stretch it to more recently, is as much as 6,000 points on the NASDAQ. So that could take us down in the kind of 6,300 or lower area, down 60% or more by early next year. So that's when people are going to know that this is a major correction and this is a crash. And obviously we have the debate, are we in recession or not? We're going into recession, okay? And it's going to be the deepest one. I think it's going to end up being a short depression into 2024-25 or so. The other thing we're seeing, China's home prices are finally cracking. Sales have been slowing for a long time, 13 months, but home prices now down about 3% over the last 13 months. And that's really saying something for the biggest real estate bubble that has been so supported by the government and everybody. And the United States home market's starting to crack. You have to remember, stocks are going to lead this crash, as they have. Housing is always slow to top and much, much longer to bottom. The last housing correction, which is, the 34, 37% by different measurements in the US, took 6 years, okay, to bottom. So housing may be slow to start here, but do not be fooled. This is the last chance to sell your home or any real estate, commercial or otherwise, or international, vacation, because this is going to be the biggest housing crash of our lifetimes, past or future. Now, the bonds, this has been the strangest time. In the 2007 stock top, the TLT bottomed and started to rally 6 months before that October stock top, and stocks started going down. This time, it only looks like it finally bottomed here recently, in late October. But I still see it at least doubling. So it's at 196 is the target on TLT, and Zero is probably 210, 220. So Both of these are going to be huge rallies. The markets also did there what you'd expect. I've been saying we will not see a rally this big in the treasury bond market in the past decades or in future decades. So it's going to hide this one as well. But hang in there with these positions, and if people want to add, this is a good time to do it. It does finally look like we put in bottoms there. So Bitcoin, of course, leading, which it should, down 76%. Remember, my target for Bitcoin, same as Amazon and the dot-coms in the first tech bubble crash, it's going to be down 95, 96% before this is over. My target is around 3250, and that's just the late 2018 lows, the fourth wave I call it. And if I just look at the chart of Bitcoin, we have seen what I call the baby bubble, the initial bubble in a new big industry. How do you know it's a new big thing coming? When it bubbles up this most. Nothing burgers don't bubble like this for over a decade, like Bitcoin and the whole crypto industry has. So you had a first wave up in Bitcoin 2013, big crash. Third wave up into 2017, big crash. And then the fifth wave up into late 2021. And now we're in that crash. So if I'm just objective and I look at the chart, okay, just the chart, like I know nothing. If this was a chart that I did not know what it was, I would say we're going to go back to that late 2019, early 2020 low around 31 to 3,300. That's where I think it's going. That's going to be down 95, 96%. And here's the important thing here. I'm already, and I've been expecting this, already seeing in the news, oh, is Bitcoin useless? Was this just another sham? Is this just another nothing bubble? No. I got sold very early on because I saw how big this whole bubble was. Something like this does not bubble up this much over a decade, since 2008-9, without being the next big thing. So I've been sold from the beginning. And this is about the digitization of that and making everything about financial assets more visible, more transparent, more tradable at lower cost. So again, this is the next big thing. So what is Bitcoin doing? It's doing exactly what the dot-coms and Amazon did in the late 90s. So the first tech bubble was led by a new emerging sector, the dot-coms, Amazon and all these new retailers on the internet. And Amazon went from $6.98 to $136, and then back in 2001, 2002, back to $6. 95% crash. So that's when everybody thinks this was just a big bubble and a bunch of hype. No, that's actually proof that this is the next big thing. That's exactly what the next big thing does. It bubbles up in its baby stage, crashes big time. In other words, I've been looking for a 95% crash in Bitcoin, and that would take it all the way down to this 3,300 area.